a thumbs up. There we go. Good. That is great. Hey, just real quick, just from the standpoint of this market, let's just address just a few things going on in this market. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. Great to be with you guys and looking forward to it. So, in regards to this market that we're dealing with, let's just talk about a couple of things. One, of course, we're seeing a little bit of a jumping around of the rates. Depends on which day you're looking at through the week. But of course, you saw the unemployment numbers. You saw the Federal Reserve do what they were going to do. There's a lot of anticipation as to the fact that they thought that they were going to make a rate cut. They didn't, but it is what it is. But one of the things that I've recognized in life, and this is the primary thing that I want to focus on with you today, and that is where do you choose to give up control and where do you choose to take control? So think about that for a moment. Think about the fact of the way in which you take control of your life, control of your business, control of your future, and areas where it's a fair statement where you may not have any control. Now, there's the overarching element of this business, or this, I'm sorry, not business, this life, which is that we are sitting on a planet that's spinning thousands and millions of miles through space. It is, in the perfect orbit, in the perfect location, this little watery globe that basically bounces through space. And here's the reality: we have no control over that. So we can go to the extremes where in reality we don't have ultimate control, right? There could be not to be doom and gloom, there could be a solar flare that could be so grand and so great and so intense that all of a sudden vaporizes the earth. I get the fact that there's things you don't have control over. And so whether it's this bouncing globe in the middle of space or whether it's the markets that you can't control, there's a lot of things you can't control. I get that. But if you look at the things that you can control, then you start to realize that if you focus on the things you know you can control, good things begin to happen in the life of a real estate agent or any salesperson for that matter. So think about this for a minute. Think about the impact that you have in regards to your mindset. Think of the impact and the control you have over your skill sets. Think of the impact and the control that you have over your personal disciplines. And I just want to focus on a few things that you can't control. And I say that, right? You can't control necessarily the markets. You necessarily aren't really making a huge impact on whether unemployment occurs or doesn't occur or is high or low. You don't have an impact on the craziness of this presidential election. You don't have control over other people. You don't have control over markets and inventory and pricing. You certainly don't have control over interest rates themselves, the Fed rates or the mortgage rates. You don't have control over unemployment. You don't have control over the CPI. You don't have control over the gross national or the deficit to the GDP to the domestic products. I mean, there's all these things within the economy and the market you don't have control over. So you may say, well, George, man, you're making me feel even more uncomfortable. Like there's all these, time bombs that in some words that could go off in regards to market conditions, unemployment, wars, to you name it. There's so many things again. And as I start off with, we're this globe bouncing in the middle of space, which doesn't, if you really sit back and go, whoa, I don't really have a lot of control. So I think it is always fascinating to me that people who deem the fact that they need to be in such control, the reality is there's very little you can really control. But of the few things that you can control, they're important because they base our things that we can, the things we base that we can control really is the basis of our own sanity, right? Because if I lay awake at night and thinking, oh my goodness, is there a meteor that's going to hit the earth, or what's the next decision of, Jerome Powell, who heads out the Federal Reserve, or, what difference in regards to which president is elected in the market conditions that either will be good or bad from whoever. The fact of the matter is that there's things that we have to acknowledge we may not have control over. So if that is the case, and this isn't necessarily a new concept, it's just a reminder, because I have to remind myself that I don't have control over everything. And I don't. So if I don't have control over everything, then what is it that I choose to control? Well, that's where I've built my life on the basis of, let's pick a few of these things we can control. And the controls come into, what do we do with our mind? What do we do with our action? What do we do with our skills? What do we do with the way we prospect, the doors that we knock, the people we talk to, the sphere and centers of influence, our database? And you start to recognize that, wait a second here, even though I can't control a lot of these things that, I just mentioned, and things I'm sure you could add to the list, although you can't control those things, you can control a lot of things. And so I would just echo to you that if the factors of control really lie in the fact of what you believe you control, well, there you go. That's important. So look at this for a minute. I want to nail it down to just a few things. It's from a place of history, from a place of all the coaching, a place of all the trainings, all the interactions with so many different salespeople, the good ones, the bad ones, the great ones, the amazing ones, and the not so great ones. I mean, I feel like, and today, by the way, July 1st is my 30th year in the business, and 30 years in the business. And on the 4th of July, 30 years ago, in 4 more days, I took my first listing ever in the history of the business. Well, look, I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. And I just want to share with you some core things that I have found that have been most helpful. And maybe I'm at that age for some of you are like, oh man, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I would tell you, I know what I'm talking about. I would tell you that it doesn't come from just an opinion. It comes from the basis of the wisdom that I have is because of the experiences that I've had. And like all of us, the real experiences, how we really learn ultimately, is either the experiences of others, whether we see them or read about them or hear their words, as an example, or our own experiences, things that we've experienced, things that maybe didn't go so well for us, or things that went really well for us and we want to duplicate them. In the midst of all of that, what I would just simply ask you is this: are you taking control of the things that you really control, you can control? Are you taking control of the things that you can really control? Because here's the problem. There's so many things we can't control that if you, as an individual, don't take control of the things you can control, I can only imagine that your mindset, your belief system is a real struggle. I would bet you that there's a great challenge in relationship to that struggle. Because here's the problem. When you don't have tremendous levels of control in your business, well, then you're a victim, or you're a blamer, or you're a rationalizer. Those are your choices. I can either get on it and start controlling the things I can control, or I can blame others, blame the markets, blame other challenges, or I can be a victim and be you don't understand, and it's tougher than you think, and it's harder than you think. Or you rationalize and you'll do things like, well, I'll just wait till the market recovers, or I'm really doing well even though I'm not making any money. And maybe you are, but be careful, making sure you're not blaming, making sure you're not victimizing, and making sure that as you move through the blame, the victimizing, and the rationalization, that you don't find yourself completely off the mark. Because look, there's so much in this business that you can control, that you can be in control. And the areas where you may fear, the areas of your life where you may struggle, I would simply invite you, or challenge you even, to use gratitude and other tools like meditation and journaling and rewriting your story within your journal, or the people you spend time with coaches and mentors and trainers. But as you move through all of that, I would just challenge you that if you're finding yourself stuck, then there's a way out. And it starts with controlling what you can control. So simple things. Let's get into the meat of this. All right. Just again, an awakening of, hey, I got to control what I can control. I can't control the things. Like, stop worrying about the things you can't control. You may educate yourself on the things you can't control, but stop worrying about the things that you can't control. So if that's the case, then this is my statement to you. How are you controlling your schedule? Now, I've said this a lot of time over the years. If you sat with me and we were doing a coaching session and we were one-on-one, I would ask this question: what are you doing with your time? And you say, well, George, I don't really want to talk about this. I get it. It's not necessarily a really fun conversation. It's not a conversation that a lot of people want to have, because there's an area of responsibility, accountability, meaning I have to answer for what I do on a daily basis. Yes. So within that schedule, within what you're doing with your time, there's just a few things that you have to get done every day. And if you do them, seems like everything happens the way it's supposed to. If you don't do them and you resist the very things you're supposed to do, well, then it becomes very challenging. And that we have to be very careful of if we want to build and craft and create the life we desire. All right. I hope this is making sense. So if you ask yourself, what am I doing with my time? And you begin to realize, well, maybe not as much as I should be. Okay, well, then what should you be doing with that time? So let's talk about some fundamentals. And just remember, every year, the great Vince Lombardi, and I used to tell this story a lot, I haven't told it for years, but the great Vince Lombardi would go out and bring the entire team together, specifically the Green Bay Packers, and he'd get the whole entire team together, and he would then walk out into the middle of the field and he would hold up a football and he would say, gentlemen, this is a football. And then he would talk about the football, how to hold the football, how to tuck the football under your arm, how to throw the football. He'd talk about the laces, the seams, where to hold the ball, because he was going to remind them of the fundamentals. And here you have professional athletes. You may say, well, being spoken to as if they were in fourth or fifth grade, possibly starting over. He would walk out onto the field, the great Vince Lombardi, one of the, which is what the Super Bowl trophy is named after, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. One of the most prolific coaches in the history of football. And he would then take him out on the field, and he would go to end zone, and he would explain the width of the field. He would talk about the red zone within the field. He would talk about how the field was structured, how it was set up. And you'd be like, wait, aren't these professional athletes? Yeah, they are. They're professionals. So why is he talking about the fundamentals? Because the breakdown in anyone's business always comes down to the fundamentals. It's rarely the markets. It's rarely the lack of inventory or the increased inventory or other agents or the market in general. It is rarely ultimately those things. And I have proof of that, because I can show you agent after agent that's succeeding in today's market at extraordinary levels. And you sit there and go, whoa, time out. How's that possible? I can tell you how. You control the things you can control. You control the things you can control. And if you do that, then everything else seems to fall together. All right. So let's go back to that. What are you doing with your time? Okay. What is the schedule? The schedule. Well, what do you mean, George, my schedule? I mean your schedule from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, and bookending your day, as in the book Compound Effect, Jim Rohn talked about it also, but Darren Hardy talked about it. He goes, I can always control the bookends of my day, meaning the time I wake up and the time I go to sleep. Other than that, I better have everything else, be able to dial it in and recognize that there very well may be some challenges in the day, some distractions in the day, but I can finish and start my day the right way. And that's really important to these next steps. All right. So what does it mean to have a good schedule? Well, first and foremost, I would ask you, what's the purpose of your schedule? What's the reason you have a schedule? Well, it's to create personal disciplines that then foster into creating even grander and greater moments in regards to your business and your volume and your momentum. And following a schedule, putting structure in your day creates momentum. I watch it every day. It doesn't matter who the agent is. If they want to have a greater level of success, it always starts with the structure they put in place. All right. So here's the deal. What I want to make sure of is that you have a structure slash a schedule that is in alignment with your dreams, goals, and desires. That's the deal. As long as it aligns with your dreams, goals, and desires, your most sacred aspirations. And as long as it does, good things are going to happen. All right, gang? So, with that being said, let's talk a little bit more in detail as to what it is that you need to have in that schedule. Well, here's the first thing. You need to prepare. You need to prepare for your day. Yesterday, I was preparing. This morning, I was preparing because I knew I had a very busy day with lots of things going on. And I had some doctor's appointments and different things. Hence, I'm in my car doing this coaching session today. But don't let that deter you. I am dialed in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm dialed in because look, this for 30 years has been the dedication of my life to be able to refine the process that you have to go through to succeed at an extraordinary high level in the game of real estate. Don't underestimate that there is literally nothing about this business you can't do and nothing you can't overcome. So with that, let's just jump into a few more of these ideas. So number one, let's get ourselves prepared. Well, how do we get prepared? We practice. We practice our mind. We practice our emotional state, our emotional strength. We practice every single thing in regards to our physical action, specifically to prospecting. So if you have your mind right in relationship to what you think about, what you believe, what you think about it, what you feel, what you do, the outcome will be extraordinary and so powerful from that standpoint. All right. So look, make sure that every morning, you are making sure that you are prospecting every single morning. If it's a work day, it's a prospecting day. And let's make sure we make the appointments. Let's make sure we talk to the people. Today, we're not going to get into the details of the actual process of that. But the bottom line is that you need to make sure that you have it very, very dialed in. Prospecting. Number 2 or 3, preparation, prospecting. Number 3, your sphere. It is so vital that you consistently call your sphere. That if you don't, it is a major problem. Why? Because someone else is going to try to call them. If someone else is going to try to reach out to them, someone else is going to try to make them be the one who helps them and makes it to where they are the one who helps them find or buy a home. Someone's always trying to contact your client or past client or current clients. Why? Because there's salespeople out there that are actually trying to sell. All right. So remember, when we talk about prospecting, we're talking about lead follow-up. We're talking about calling your sphere. We're talking about prospecting at a certain time. We're talking about prospecting on a certain day or days. We're talking about prospecting from our lead follow-up to our appointment setting, to the time frames, to the contacts, to the appointment set, to the number of hours you prospect. It's all connected. Prospecting is the ingredient to your long-term success. Prospecting is the ingredient to your long-term success. If you're looking for another job, if you're doubting yourself in this business, if you're thinking about giving up, if you're thinking about wanting to do something else, it is always a basis of just simply one thing, not sticking to a schedule and being rigid enough that nothing can get you off. Nothing. So with that being said, let me just grab a little water here. With that being said, let's shift to the next thing in regards to structure. So if I look at structure, the main thing I'm looking for in regards to my structure, besides my prospecting, is my mental side of things. So when I talk again about preparation of leads, preparation of my time, preparation. In order to be fully prepared for the battles of this business, you've got to get your mind right and your heart right so that you can take action to win the game, like I've said earlier. So if that's the case, what are you doing in relationship to the mental preparation to winning the game of real estate? Well, let me give you a couple of thoughts. Number one, meditation. If I would have known what meditation was going to do for me, I would have never, ever allowed myself to go so far and so long without conversation with, or not conversation, with my meditation, and to be able to have truly conversations with myself, with God, and to be able to do those things. Now, I've always been a person of faith to pray, but prayer and meditation are uniquely different. So make sure you're meditating. Make sure you're praying. Do it all. Why? Because you're preparing your mind to go into battle. And the most certain you are, the most confident you are, the most well adjusted you are, the better chance you have of succeeding. So with that being said, let's jump to number 3 of preparation. We've talked about our schedule, just in general, what we're doing, specifics. Number 2, we're talking about prospecting. Number 3, let's talk about our focus. Where do you choose to put your focus? Where do you choose to put your focus? Is it on buyers? Is it on listings? Is it the avoidance of the business? Is it on appointments set? Is it on deals done? Is it on income? Number of families you want to help? I don't know necessarily if there's a right answer other than the aha that you have the power to choose to focus on whatever you want to focus on. That's on you. People can tell you what you should want. They can tell you what you should do. They can have an opinion about your life, and they can double it down to where even if you don't do what they say they're going to do, they say you're banished, you're out of the tribe, you're not with us. But in the end, the single most important thing when you look at this is to get your mind in a space where it's focused on the right stuff. So for me, it was the daily focus of setting appointments, daily focus of taking a listing, daily focus of putting a deal under contract. And let me tell you guys something. Where you put this mind and where you put this heart, mind and heart, where you put its focus is what transitions into your life. Now, whether you're a person of faith, it is an undeniable, indisputable truth, law, that there is energy that flows on this earth. And whatever you put your focus on, wherever your energy of you goes, so does your life go. Wherever you put your focus is where your energy goes. So wherever you put your focus is where your energy goes. Mentally, emotionally, and physically, where you put your focus is where your energy goes is where your focus goes. And where your focus goes is where your energy goes. Don't underestimate the magnitude of getting your mind right, your heart right, your actions right, so that you can win the game of selling real estate on a very high level. All right. Next point, discipline. Now, I've spoken of this for years, so don't be annoyed by me, but maybe you are. But the difference between accountability and discipline. I always like to put the word self-discipline on discipline. Why? Because self-discipline sounds so exciting. I said I was going to do it, and I did it, George. Oh, wow, good for you. But if you don't have reasons that drive you with your accountability and the disciplines of your life, if you don't have disciplines that give you accountability to your life, you're going to fail. You say, well, George, you don't know that. Yes, I do. You will fail. You will be one of the people who consistently believes that they will prospect when they say they're going to. I don't know anybody that consistently prospects at the level they should be consistently without accountability. Now, there's lots of ways you can create accountability. You can create accountability from the standpoint of bringing people onto your team or onto your around you, and that those people, and it's even just other agents, and you say, we're going to prospect together, we're going to knock doors together, we're going to do all that we're going to do in real estate together. Well, that sounds pretty awesome if that's what we're going to do. Yes, because we're going to do it together. So remember that as you move through this period and this piece of focus, It's your job to making sure that you focus on the right stuff. Great salespeople get people to focus on the right stuff, but you need to focus on the right stuff. That's on you. You need to focus on the right stuff. And how do you do that? Yes, you meditate, you journal, you write down your goals and dreams and most sacred aspirations. You get the reasons why you do what you do. And when you got that down, rest is history. You'll make all the calls, knock all the doors, go on all the appointments that you need to because you know where you're going. So remember, you got to know. You got to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, then probably, you know what, you're in someone else's plan. Or you're like the wind, or a sailboat on the lake with no rudder. It's just wherever the wind blows, that's where it's going to go. Well, that's not winning the game of real estate, nor is it simply winning the game of life. All right. And last but not least, we'll close with this. And that is, in the end of the day, you've got your mindset you're focused on, you got your schedule you're focused on, you got your feelings, your emotions, your heart that you're focused on. Last but not least is the structure, the disciplines, the self-discipline of taking the action. You got to take the action if you want to win. You got to stop waiting for business. You got to stop going out and buying and spending exorbitant amounts on, leads, and then so many of them don't work out. Don't eliminate certain things, but add certain things to your repertoire. And sometimes, there's a lot of agents who have not properly added the component of prospecting into their game. You have got to be able to do that. You've got to be able to prospect consistently, doing it when you say you're going to do it. Now, how do you get accountable? Like I was talking about earlier, from the outside versus if you don't have the self-discipline, bring people around you, right? Write checks to people. Say, if I don't do this, or maybe it's, give a talk on discipline to the group or whatever it is, make sure that you're doing it. Why? Because your mind, your skills, and your discipline are paramount. Why? Because the story you tell yourself is the only one you believe. So it better be the true one, the right one, the correct one. That's how we win the game of selling real estate. We get our minds right, we get our heart right, and we get our actions right. We recognize that time is our greatest asset, but it is also a very limited asset because there's only so much time on this planet. So just make sure that you have this dialed in. Why? Because it's not just us doing another real estate deal. It's about sustainability. It's about your independence. It's about having the life that you're bent and building and need to create, or desire to create, maybe is even a better word. Okay. Hey guys, I just want to point out that, reminding you, this may not seem very exciting. I'm going to close with this. There's always people getting divorced. There's always people losing their jobs. There's people who are dying. There's people who got job increases or job performance or, advances in their career. There's all sorts of evidence that would show that 1,000 to 1,500 homes across the Wasatch Front, every single month, are being sold with 2 commission checks, over 3,000 transactions. Deals are happening. So look, I concluded early on in my career that no matter what the market was doing, people were going to die. People were going to get divorced. Job transfers were going to occur. Promotions and advancements were going to occur for people. All of it made me realize that it's always a good time to do something in regards to real estate. It's always a good time. Okay. Now, with that being said, let me just remind you, believe in yourself. Believe you are the best agent for the job. Believe you can get the job done. And last but not least, believe it is an extraordinary time to sell real estate, to help people buy a home and sell a home. It is one of the great gifts that you get to provide for people in all the work, the effort, and the challenges of this business. You get to reward them for the beauty of home ownership. Don't underestimate the magnitude, the moral compass / moral duty you have to guide yourself to helping other people. Guys, you are an extraordinary group. I'm incredibly grateful for you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being this light to the world. Thank you for making a difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, we're going to wrap up. Guys, I hope to see you Wednesday. I'm going to do the morning meeting, but I would love to see more of you. Love to be able to see you in the different meetings, even if you're only able to get on Zoom. Make it a priority. Create the structure to protect your mind, your heart, and the actions that you take. All right, guys, have an extraordinary week. Happy 4th of July. And just know you are truly, truly blessed and you are deeply, deeply loved. That is a fact. And we'll talk to you soon.